Except it's not an FFS face. It's just natural. It's not an FFS face. It's naturally there. Um, he came in. The client came in, and when I saw him, I thought that this was a stud. Like, I thought that this was a woman. So much so that he came in, he sat on the couch. I went to the back and was in the mirror like, what the fuck is about to happen? Because I was broke and I needed the money. And I was like, oh, I ain't never been with a woman. And I was in that mirror like, motherfucker, you can do it. You can do it. Get this money. Get this money. Because I'm like, what the fuck? Why in my brain, I'm like, why you didn't tell me that you was a woman? But I thought that this was a woman. I saw hips, I saw breast, I saw a feminine face. He had long, wavy ass hair pulled back in a ponytail. It looked like a stud. I was like, oh my God, what is about to happen? And so I came out of the bathroom, fully prepared for him to pull down his pants, and I see a coochie. And that is not what happened. He pulled down his pants and had a big old dick. And I was relieved, but I gagged because I'm like, yo, you really look like I had to stop the session and say, and explain to him that I thought he was a woman. Maybe I should have did that, but I'm like, yo, I really thought that you was a woman. And I was about to be in this scenario with a woman and I had never been here. And I'm like, this ain't how I wanted to lose my my V card. No. Oh my God. But yeah, I thought that it was a woman. There are some men, and another dude I met on Tag a couple of years ago, and he hit me up, and I was like, sweetie, I'm not into women, baby. That's not my thing. He was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, I'm not into women. What are you talking about? I'm telling you I'm not into women. And he was like, I'm not no fucking woman. I was like, what? For real? You look like a girl. And he was like, how the fuck I look like a girl? I was like, you look like a girl to me. He looked like a girl to me. Like his whole face looked like a woman. Like everything about him looked like a woman. So, and so there are people out here who don't need a lot of work, and if they are trans, they can easily transition. I think about Nikki Airgoose. I said, Nick, when I first met Nikki Airgoose, rest in peace, I met Nikki Aragoose at this place called Houston Area Community Service. It's called Avenue 360 now. But I met her at it was a housing place, and they had a clinic in there for you to get like come pick up your hormones, and there's tons of stuff that they had there. And so sometimes if they don't have any facial hair, yeah, neither one of these people have facial hair. And I walked in there, and there's this really itty bitty white woman, and she runs up to me, and she was like, "Oh my God, Diamond Styles, how are you?" And I'm looking at her because this is a white woman that I don't know. Real, she's like 5'2". Everything about her is small. Her hands, her feet, her body, everything about her is small. And pretty ass, she ain't got no makeup on, pretty ass hair. She just looks like a regular run-of-the-mill white girl. And I'm just looking at her coming up to me, and I have no idea who this woman is. She was like, "You don't know who I am? You don't remember me?" And I was like, "No," because, I don't really have a lot of close white friends. And if I have white friends, the white friends that I have, they are my friends because of community. Like we have been in activism together. But like a white friend that's close enough to me to come to my house like for Thanksgiving, I don't have that. A white friend that I can call on the phone and say, "Oh my God, I need your help." I don't have that. I don't have close white friends. I have white associates. And so her coming up to me like I should have a history with her. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know nothing about you." And baby, when she said, "It's Nikki," and she told me her story, I have been like talking about her story for so many times, and I was like, "I did not expect you to look like this in person." And it's not that she didn't look like herself. I don't know. And she just didn't. She just didn't. She just looked like a regular ass white girl. Regular. And her smallness. It was the overall look of her. It was her. She had her little glasses on. She had her little. She just was a regular, small, petite, little. She's like 5'2", y'all. This is her. She's like 5'2", super slim, and she just was, baby, epitome of regular cunt, fish, whatever y'all want to call it. Just the epitome. The epitome, baby. I feel like Alonzo is about to be trans. I always felt that, especially once the BBL shit start happening. But I don't like to, sometimes the non-binary thing is how gay men do with bisexual. They bisexual till they accept their whole queerness, even though they ain't never been with no woman. But they'll say they're bi. But that nigga, you just gay. But And she had a style that was just like a regular woman, not so extra. Yes. Yes. I think that's also what allowed her to just kind of blend and do her thing. Um, who else? Yeah, I think the non-binary thing now is, oh, I'm not trans, I'm non-binary. Even though I don't think that they, especially in the process of us, um, in the process of trans being so demonized, and as soon as you come out as trans, trans is just engulfed as your identity. I have that kind of issue too. So me and my friend, my about it, and that's something that once you are, you've known as an identity, that people don't want you to explore other stuff. They don't want you to explore. That's why, we get booked heavily during Pride, booked heavily by, maybe Black History Month, maybe, but you can't. Your expertise or your full humanity is never appreciated, and I think some people. Um, and I think some people, because of that, they don't wanna fully commit to being trans, and so they'll say, "Oh, I'm non-binary," or and I'm not saying that non-binary doesn't exist, but I do think that it can be used as a gateway till they're comfortable in accepting that I'm really just a trans woman, or I'm really just a trans man. Um, Girl, don't nobody want to be constrained by the binary. No, that's true. And I think that, but I think it's problematic, maybe. But I think how people live, especially people that I'm talking about right now, is still a binary. So it's just you're just including another color. You got black, you got white, and you got gray. You're choosing to be in gray, but you're not shaking up the binary. It's still the binary. You just choosing to be gray. You're choosing to be in the middle. It's still the linear binary. And you're expressing yourself either way. Honey, you're doing hair, nails, makeup, blah, 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 blah. And so your expression is still woman. It's not like you mixing it up. It's just still like stereotypical woman or stereotypical man. You're not even mixing that shit up. Um, so it's not like you're doing something that's kind of breaking down the binary. It just feels like you are you're just using that as a label to not to either one. And I get it, but it doesn't feel like you're being groundbreaking. It doesn't feel like you're breaking down. If you say you're non-binary, but you're wearing makeup, wigs, dresses, corset to make your waist smaller, pads to make your hips bigger, your whole presentation is like a woman. What is non-binary about how you're expressing? Just your body, your natural body. You're still trying to give the image of a stereotypical woman. You're not doing anything
Bitch just taking up
that makes me
space.
feel like you breaking it up.
Bitch, you taking up space too. You going next.
I love your accessories. Today? Thank you. This is my Versace necklace and my Versace earrings. I love these. Old school, vintage. I love these two. Clothespins. I love them. I see that a lot. Crossdresser. Thank you. Um, Santana is non-binary. Um, I don't get it. Like it's for. I don't get it. Like it. Wait, hold on. You gotta be using commas, girl, so I can understand. I don't get it. Like it is for ally. Just saying. Sorry, it is for ally points. Can you be non-binary but leaning? I don't know. I think you can be anything you want to be. I'm just talking about it, just to examine it from my point of view. I'm a binary girl, so I can't. You know, I'm just it's just my point of view of what I see and how I'm examining the world that I see in. There's certain people like Alok. I think that there's another. Is it? I can't remember his name. Their name. Um, there are certain people that I'm like, oh, you feel like you are bucking up against the binary. Your expression is, I'm literally doing whatever the fuck I want to do. Excuse me. And you are. I can see how it is. How it is. Sometimes it's leaning towards more film. Sometimes it's leaning more towards mass. Sometimes it's just kind of nothing. I can see how your mindset around your expression is not gender based. It's what you want to do. It's how you want to dress and how you want to do it. I can see it. And then there's some people who I'm like, I don't see how you're bucking up against the system at all. I understand that. I know for me, my expression as a non-binary person is rooted in my comfort and not in performing an aesthetic or a norm. And I think that is really easily conveyed by some people where it's like, oh, I can tell that it's you just doing what you want to do and it's not really based on anything. It's not really, it's kind of like it may be based on some things, but it just you can see a certain level of freedom. But when people are just it's just you literally are doing every single thing that women do, and it just doesn't feel like you're bucking up against the binary. You know, Carrie Underwood is a Trump supporter. Um, I don't find that to be surprising. She is a blonde white woman that's in country. Like if Dolly Parton ever came out and said that she was a Republican, that would not necessarily. Well, kind of. Dolly has been very. No, not Dolly. Dolly isn't a good example, but Winona Judd or them classic country people learning that they are Trump supporters um, is not surprising for me. It just doesn't feel surprising.
Now, bitch, how much is it though?
But yes,
Meh.
I say that to I said all of that to talk about sexuality. And I tell people certain circumstances, that's where I was headed with the point. I got sidetracked. But if you're in a situation where, and this is even not even on no queer shit. Well, on some queer shit, but not even on. Think about it. Like a lot of times, why we don't have relationships, that we don't be caught up in relationships like we used to, is because we are not forced in social situations. When we were younger, we were forced to be around people because we had to go to school with them. A lot of people in adulthood, they find love at work because they're forced at work with these same people every day, forced to get to know them. And so we, a lot of times, are in our younger years, people were forced to be around queer people. The queer people in their school. So the quote unquote temptation maybe didn't bring itself didn't come up in there, doesn't come up if you don't have queer people around you. I think about the dudes that I messed with when I was younger. It was because we were in either the group home together, we lived in the same apartment complex, we went to the same high school, or we went to the same college. I feel as a trans woman, I'm perceived as a freak of nature in public is torture. How do you not care if you have a 9 to 5? Kelly, yes, trans women can be transphobic. How do you not care? Um, how do you not care? No, like, I don't be getting clocked like that. So I don't really have to navigate people bothering me when I was at work. And then when I would get clocked, it was just a small little awkward moment. And then it'll pass. Like it never was constant. It never was constant. But those little awkward moments, I just stopped caring. I don't know how I stopped caring. I don't give a fuck. Like it just got to a point where I don't give a fuck. And it happened over time. It wasn't like I did something and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this and not care. I'll come back to your question, Kelly, once I get done talking about Vampire Goddess. But I just stopped. I don't know. I just stopped caring about. I just stopped caring about getting clocked. I don't know how to describe what happened. I just got to a point where, I mean, Who gives a fuck? What you gonna do? It doesn't. I'm not thinking about. I don't really give a fuck. I didn't become trans because I gave a fuck about what people think. Once I said I'm trans, that means fuck the world. That means fuck what you think about me. Fuck what you think I'm supposed to be. When I decide to flip whatever against the grain that being trans is, in my brain, it's 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 like I don't give a fuck. Like the whole point of me living my life the way I want to live it is because I don't give a fuck about what you think a woman is, what you think a man should be, what you think a person born a boy could become. The whole point of me deciding to live my life in my truth is not giving a fuck about what people think. So why, when I'm at work at my 9 to 5 job, why, if you figure out that I'm trans, why would I give a fuck about what's going on in your mind about me? You, most of the time, and then another thing, sometimes we can overthink what somebody else might be thinking, because unless they come out of their mouth and say, "Oh, you're a freak of nature," then you don't really know what they're thinking. Sometimes motherfuckers don't be giving a fuck. Sometimes you just a gag. Sometimes the gag is, it's not that I think you're a freak of nature. It's just your boldness of being who you are in this space, and I'm surprised that you're even in this space. It's like no. It's like sometimes they're not even thinking what your brain is kind of overthinking and making them and coming up with a narrative of how people think about you. Sometimes they're gagging and being late and thinking late things, but who gives a fuck? Um, I think having an affirming community helps with finding security too. I think that absolutely, and I think that that is a privilege of my life. I've never had a transition without a friend. I've never had to, my transition, I have always had a friend who was also trans that, I could, you know, there was always affirmation there. And so I didn't grow up or come into my trans identity like fully alone like some people. And so I had my gay friends, I had my trans friends, I had, you know, my family who, has some certain spicy people, but in general, my family was cool. Um, so there was some clashes, but not enough to make me feel like I was ever alone. I think the time that I felt the most alone when it comes to my transition was when I was at Jackson State, and it was because I was alone, and because it was the first time that I was alone. Period. When I was in high school, I had all my friends, so I never had a chance to feel alone. Even if I'm at school. Oh, when I get out of school, me and my friends are going to the mall together. Um, but when I was in college, I really felt alone because it was the first place that um, even the cis women and the gay men were like shunning me. I had never experienced that in my life. It was always, back home, it was always a gay boy you could be cool with, or a lesbian, or a dyke, or you know what I'm saying. It was always somebody. But at Jackson State, it was nobody. I was alone. There were queer people, but they stayed away from me. So, so the best way that I could, if I'm to advise you, is just go to work, do your time at work, and go home. But when you go home, kick it with your friends, kick it with your people. Don't overthink how people are perceiving you. You there to do a job, do your job well, and go home. No, I'm talking about like if you have customers, like shit like that. But now people you work with, that can kind of get spicy. If they can affect your job, don't worry about it. Just do your job well. If you're the best person at doing your job, that's the least chance that you got to get fired. So just do your job well. Don't try to make no. I'm somebody. I don't like making friends at work. I'm here to do a job. I don't need you in my business. I don't add people on my list. That's at my job on my friends list. I don't know. I don't do all that. I don't know if you like that, but I suggest don't do it. Separate job and home. I don't know if that's good advice or not, but that's how I do it, and it worked. All right. Let me go back up to Kelly's before I forget. So Kelly says, "Can trans women be transphobic?" And then she says, "How?" And she says, "How can trans women be transphobic? Do tell." So Kelly, define what is your definition of transphobic? What is your definition of somebody being transphobic? What is the definition of it? And while you tell me, I will look it up. I know what it means, but let's look at what it means. Now you're asking more questions. So let's stick with the first question. Tell me what. Let's stick with the first question, and then I'll go to that one. So, what is your definition of being transphobic? What's your definition of transphobic?
Wow, I just realized it's paused. Wow. I'm sitting here like, why is nothing moving? And I'm like, oh, wait. Well,
Side note, can you disclose while Kelly answers? Side note, can you disclose who was the better options? They have so many better fillers now that you can use. I love this lady out of I know her name is Moya. I don't know her last name. If you send me an email, diamondstyles@gmail, I will find it for you and send it back and send you the information. This chick out of San Francisco, her name is Moya something. I know her as Moya. She does really, really good filler work for trans women out there. Really, really popular. You can really get good work from her. But actual silicone, I think it's just I think silicone is out of. I don't think you should be getting silicone right now. There's tons of other ways to enhance your body that are safer and just better now. As somebody who I love my silicone work. um, I think it's just safer ways now. When I was younger, um, who who work, I got work done by. She's in prison now. Well, she's dead now. She died in prison, but she's in prison now. By this chick named Tracy in Mississippi. She killed somebody. I got some, but I got that removed. I got done by Mocha Montrese. Yeah, but I got all of that removed when I got my FFS. What could be removed? To get silicone removed, there's tons of doctors to do it. I went to Dr. Cardenas in Guadalajara, but there's tons of doctors here in America that do it now. Dr. Z, it's tons. I haven't had surgery since 2000 and like facial work surgery. I haven't had that since 2013. Um, so I haven't been in the game of looking for like surgeons and stuff like that. So I don't know who's new and who's fire out here yet. Um, So I wouldn't be a good person because all of my stuff is going to be information about who's doing work is probably going to be dated. I still like Dr. Spiegel in Boston's work. Is he retired? Does he still work? I still like his work. Yeah, yeah, I don't really know. But Kelly, you didn't answer my question. What is your definition of transphobic? Thank you for helping me out. No problem. Silicone is outdated. Yeah. I think there's tons of other stuff that we can get now. Are you officially done with surgery? I'm officially no, I'm not. I think that surgery helps your confidence. I think that surgery is something that I'm not opposed to ever at all. I do have plans for my 50th birthday, or maybe not the birthday, but around my 50th. A gift to myself is to do some type of spruce up, like a facelift, or I do have a dream if I'm doing well financially to do something for my 50th birthday that's like a spruce up. Um, but as far as like transition stuff, like stuff that is gender affirming, yes. I don't need anything that makes me feel like, oh, I'm a I'm living my truth. I want my body to match my outside. Once I got my FFS, I felt like very, very comfortable with how I looked and presented to the world. Um, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with my pretty comfortable with my body. I'm pretty comfortable. I was getting a little big, so that's why I got my sleeve. I was getting a little bigger than what I wanted to be. Um, that's why I got my sleeve. So yeah, I'm not opposed to any kind of surgery. Telling you anything, you are getting more sickening than you were when you started. That's just really what it is. You are advancing in your womanhood because you're getting things done. You're getting softer. You're getting more voluptuous. You're getting better. You're getting better hair, getting better makeup technique. You are literally getting better. So they're not just shooting smoke up your ass. They literally are just appreciating your advancement. That's really what it was. And so as you get older, for me, as you get older in the game, it gave me a certain level of confidence. Whether they were selling me a dream or not, I was advancing. And they were appreciating it. And they didn't have to spend their money. I knew bitches who wasn't making as much money as I was. So clearly they like what they see. And for me, there was something that went off in my brain, even in my personal life, that if these niggas can value me, nigga, you who I'm messing around with for free, nigga, you gonna step up to the motherfucking plate in other ways. So if I want to be taken out to the movies, taken out on a date, treat it like I got some sense, and you not talking to me any kind of way, and blah 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 blah. It's something about sex work that gave me the confidence to be like, you have value and you determine how people treat you. Because even with clients, even though y'all spending money, you gonna come in this motherfucking house and and you're gonna touch me how I want to be touched. You're going to talk to me how I want to be talked about. I make the rules in this motherfucker. Even though you paying, I still make the rules on the rules of engagement. And so it gave me the confidence to not just.
Femboy Barrel Snippet Califa. Ebazeric, Bahira Imi. Lombek, Beno Jer. Nerkscut. Look. Soapy. Young Lombek. She Brinka Shalbo.
Scanship. Novel. Oh, it's.
Oh, I'm tired.
Dornicladazoy. Ah. Ring glove. Look, new myth.
that in my sex worker life, but to do that in um, my regular life. So even to this day, I just can't comprehend some dude just telling me how he gonna treat me or treat me any kind of way. Like I literally will cut a nigga off so fast. Like nigga, you got me fucked up. And that's what gaining weight. That's what being. Nothing made me feel like I was not worthy of, because ain't no way you gonna be trying to get into my drawers and not treat me how I want to be treated. That's just what it is. Because if I'm not worth it, then take your ass to somebody else. And having that, and for me, being a sex worker and having that confidence kind of put the sex work kind of gave me that confidence to have that kind of, that boss bitch mentality. Like, yo, I'm the boss. I'm worth it. And you're not just doing this because you're not doing me a favor with being with me, or offering your dick. Get out of here. Niggas pay me. So, because imagine, and another myth that people think about sex work is that all of your clients are either ugly, old, or some of them ugly, sure, or some of them old, sure, but there are also some fine ones too. Many, and not, you know what I'm saying? It's all walks of life. Young, old, fine, unattractive, slim, tall, big. It's so many different types. And so there's so many clients that are fine as hell. So if this dime piece model looking dude can come pay me $300, yo, dusty, broke, thugged out, street nigga ass, why I'm gonna let you come and treat me kind of way or talk to me any kind of way? No, get the fuck out of here. You want to spend time with me for free? You can spend that time with somebody and get paid. You want to spend some time for free? You gonna talk to me like you gonna give me the princess treatment, and that's what it is. So it just gave me a certain level of confidence just by the sheer fact that these dudes was boosting what's in my ego. Some people are just cut out for the lifestyle because they have the right cocktail of skills, emotional capacity, sexual openness, experience, and circumstance. I really believe that because the whole shit was definitely in me. I didn't have any of the moral hang-ups that lead people to turn their noses up at hoes. I was street smart, could sense danger, and knew how to keep my cool under pressure. I knew how to finesse. Most important, the timing was right. I needed the money and was more than willing to perform all kinds of different versions of femininity when I knew there was cash waiting for me at the end of the tunnel. All of this was true for me before I ever consciously engaged in any kind of transactional sex. And together, they were the catalyst that got me into the game. My homegirls and I were having one of our deep conversations late one night. We were kikiing around the table when the topic of our early 20s financial woes came up. One of my friends was trying to make a joke when she said, I'm so broke, I can do something strange for a piece of change right now. In the early odds, doing something strange for a piece of change was how you talked about hoeing if you weren't trying to actually be mean-spirited or whorephobic. It was meant to be cheeky, but she didn't laugh when she said it. And she cast her eyes away from us as the words left her mouth. It was clear that deep down she meant every word. She just wasn't sure how we'd react. But she would get no judgment here. Instead, she was met with a chorus of, shit, me too, from myself and other friends. Shit. None of us were laughing either. We didn't know how to do it, but we knew we were down to do it. And we were emboldened by the circle of trust we built. Our first idea was to see if one of us could win an amateur night prize at a local strip club we visited before, and we'd all split the prize money. A few weeks later, the four of us piled into Sandy with our bags packed, ready to cross state lines for a quick come-up. When we arrived at the club, my friends who were going to compete waited before they signed up. It was a smart move because after watching the first few contestants go up, we realized they weren't amateurs at all. These dancers were professionals from other strip clubs who had the same idea to make a stack. My friends' chances of winning were slim. None of us wanted to let the night go to waste, though. We chilled in a spot, enjoying free drinks and bomb-ass fried chicken. Fun fact, a strip club is only as good as the fried chicken it serves. Some guys who had been eyeing our crew since we walked in were taking care of the tab. We huddled together and decided that we could take our chances on a more personalized lick. There were four of us,
We had one another's backs, and these dudes looked pretty harmless. So we offered them the opportunity for a private show back at their place and got them out of the club before they blew any more money on strippers. At their two-bedroom apartment in a forgettable complex, my homegirls proved that they were not amateurs at everything. I made sure everyone was okay and held on to the money until it was time to go. It wasn't nearly as much as we hoped we'd make on our little come-up trip. And Sandy smelled like Badissi for the whole trip home. But we still get a damn good laugh out of it. Badissi describes the specific aroma that results from the meeting of butt, dick, and pussy. Not for the hustlers or hoes we would eventually become, but we certainly made some good memories. I would hardly consider this my formal introduction to sex work, but it was definitely what got the ball rolling. As it turns out, my friends were with the whole shit, but they didn't need the money as much as I did, and they weren't as curious about exploring their own sexual politics like I was. So I kept going while they stayed at the ready. I dove head first into research and found that my new side hustle was just a few pics and a couple of clicks on the internet away. I posted my first ad, and that's how the nerdy white guy ended up at my crib, getting a massage with a happy ending. If we're being technical, the answer to the question, how did you get into sex work, is the internet. Anyone with a phone can snap some pictures of themselves, decide on an hourly rate, and put it all on a relevant website or forum with their contact information. It was decidedly easier before the extremely harmful SESTA, Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, was passed in 2018. But back when I started, it was as simple as that. There were plenty of resources available to anyone who had the time to do some internet sleuthing on which sites would be best to market and advertise their services, figure out pricing, and what language to use in ads. To actually learn the ropes and navigate this world, though, I had to get to know other women in the industry.
Girl.
My first attempts at joining the community of professional dominatrices, which I thought would be a safer bet legally, were unsuccessful. As ridiculous as it sounds, there's a bit of whorephobia even within sex work. Sometimes providers who offer only visual and audio sensory services, like phone sex operators, cam girls, and strippers who abide by no contact rules, think they're better than those who offer more. And some of the providers who offer contact services, like kink providers and erotic massage givers, think they have a moral high ground over sex workers who provide full service or sex to their clients. And even among full service providers, there is elitism from those who work online at higher rates and with privileged backgrounds toward those who work the streets, who have pimps, those struggling with addiction, or those who work at lower rates in other riskier circumstances to ensure their own survival. In many ways, this internal homophobia has merged with the purism of some BDSM practitioners, and the result is a strong weariness toward folks who are interested in making money in the lifestyle. Many pro-doms build their professional reputations on the fact that they've been part of the lifestyle in a non-professional capacity first, and they tend to be suspicious of newbies, especially young Black women stepping onto the scene.
All right, so let's talk about that. So I think that what she described with her friends, them kind of building the trust with each other and then out here hustling, trying to turn some tricks. I thought that was a beautiful way to kind of be introduced. You have the safety of your friends, y'all doing what y'all want to do, how y'all want to do it, blah, 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 blah. So I thought that was a beautiful
That's
moment.
it.
Mine was, I don't want to say similar to that, but it was kind of like, not kind of like that. Mine was different. But it was a friend connection. My first formal stuff, like that had to do with ads and in the paper and shit. I was really turning my homegirl's tricks while she was at work. For the first week, prior to having my own ad, she basically was a drag queen, and she would have clients calling her while she was at her job performing. She was on cast at a club, at a drag club. And so what her mindset was, if I let you do the tricks, you give me a percentage, and I'll I'll send the rest to you. I'll send the ones that I can't date to you. At least while I'm at work, I can at least get a little bit of coins with the tricks that's coming to you. And so the tricks was like $250 an hour, and I would give her 50. So 200 was for me, 50 was for her. Each trick I had, from her, because they would call her and she was sending me. I was like pimping for real. But I don't like that dynamic of a middleman. I was a middle person. I like to make all my money, baby. But because I was new to the game and didn't know about advertising and didn't know nothing, this was my way to get into the game because I didn't know. But I paid attention and I asked questions and I was asking clients what was the tea with shit, like where did you find me at? And so when they would come, I would ask them questions. And so they told me about the paper that they had called her from. And so I went to the office of the paper. And so with the money that I had made that first couple of days with her, I went and paid for my own ad. So the next weekend, my ad was up in the paper the next weekend. And I still was taking her dates, which is why in that weekend I made so much money because I had my own ad in the paper and I was still taking her dates and giving her $50 and still giving her $50 from the cut that she would bring. But I had my own ad, and it wasn't until she went and got a copy of the paper and she saw my ad up that she started acting funny. It's like, oh, nah, I don't send you no more dates because I didn't know you had an ad up. She felt some kind of way about me having an ad because she was hiding the information from me, which I also petty and stupid. But you know, it's business, and you adding another girl to the mix, and it hurts your coins, especially in a small city like Indianapolis, because that's where I was living. You know, it's only gonna be a couple of girls in the paper anyway, because it's not a big ass city, and so. And then narrow it down to the people who are into black girls. Ain't only gonna be a little bit of black girls. So it just was the competition was steep, honey. And so as soon as I put my ad up, I'm the new girl. I got good pictures. I look good. And so I was pulling bitches' coins. Bitches was calling and playing on my phone. And so that's how I started in regards to that. I didn't have any aversion at the time. I had never experienced street hoeing, so I didn't have any judgment of street hoes because I didn't know what went on with street hoes. I thought that they was making a lot of money too, until I went down there and they were saying that they was turning tricks for $50 and $40 and $60 and $100 for everything, and I was like, oh no, this ain't. Let me go back to Eros and the internet and Craigslist. And so when I was starting, you had Craigslist, you had Eros, you had the paper. So Craigslist, Eros, you always can have a higher number because the clientele from there was just a little bit more upscale. Craigslist was Craigslist. The beauty about Craigslist is because everybody was on that motherfucker. That's the thing about it. Everybody, like trans girls, cis girls, gay boys, everybody was on that motherfucker. So you could set it to where you just seeing pictures and you see everybody. You click it and you mixed in with the fans, you mixed in with the what's great, you mixed in with everybody. So it's really just, does your pictures look appealing? So you getting first timers, you getting celebrities, you getting all walks of life. You are getting all walks of life from Craigslist. Now your price range ain't as high, but it ain't low either. So so for example, you on Eros you could charge like $300-$400, but on Craigslist it's gonna be like $150, $250. And so where it's easy to get that. And so because there's so many people, but that was kind of like $150, $250 was kind of like the going rate. Yeah, so it wasn't any kind of the way that she described
Yes, my bitch
judgment.
got a raise,
She's
ho.
totally telling the truth. But at my age at that time, I didn't have any kind of qualms about. Oh no, and I didn't judge him. It just was like, oh no, why would you? Why don't you put an ad up? Why would you? But I also didn't understand people navigating addiction. I didn't. I didn't. I was young and dumb and didn't have the nuance of understanding everybody certain circumstances, and so it was, I just didn't have the mindset that I have now around. Yeah, she doing that home because she's trying to get her money fast. And also, I remember being in situations where, yo, the tricks ain't coming. When the recession happened in 2008, the tricks ain't coming as frequently as they could back in the day. And so what you gonna do? Sometimes you gotta take that little $100 that somebody's offering you, 150, da 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 da. Sometimes you gotta hustle and just because you're just trying to get the bills paid. So what you just trying to get to that, what if the rent is 620, you just trying to get to that 620. That's six six clients for $100 and you just trying to get it. So that kind of hustle mentality didn't come until times got hard and you like, oh, I gotta switch this up. You feel what I'm saying? It's just what it was. You gotta get what you want. You gotta get it. And that's the hustle of the game. And I didn't understand that at the time when I was younger because I hadn't been in life situations where I needed to get it. It was just like, oh, this is beautiful. Money is coming, money is coming. So, I was getting what I want. So, yeah.
So despite the fact that I had a genuine interest and talent, if I do say so myself, for dominating men, I never did get a good foothold in the kink community officially. This snobbish exclusivity did not exist among escorts. Many of them were women who, just like me, simply had the whole shit in them. Not long after I started posting ads and interacting on some of the boards, I was in regular communication with several women I shared clients with or I had chatted with in forums. These women were moms, they were students, they were orphans, they had disabilities, they were young professionals. Some of them were out to their families and friends and organized on behalf of sex worker rights. A lot of them kept this part of their lives a complete secret from everyone. A few of them, the ones who were some combination of white, thin, and able-bodied, made thousands of dollars per week traveling to luxurious destinations all around the world with discounted bags on their arms. Others barely made enough to support themselves and their families, but had extenuating circumstances that made it difficult to secure other kinds of work. Most of us were somewhere in the middle. In good weeks, we might make our rent in a single day, but that might be followed by weeks without booking a single client. The common thread among us was that we were doing the best we could with what we had and trying to stay out of harm's way while we did it.
And so I want to talk about that. So my experience, one of the girls who really shifted the amount of money that I made just by simply sharing information is Jade. TS Jade, she was one of the first people that I interviewed on my channel. We did at the time, it was like a 5-part series. And if y'all remember my interview with T.S. Madison, she was like, the reason why she got on the internet is to respond to our video. She wouldn't even be on the internet. And so Madison was responding to my interview with Jade. And one of the things about Jade, when I got, she is a hairstylist now. She got her sex change and she got out of the game. Now she does, I think she's a hairstylist or a real estate agent. She's into something else. But yes, Jade was the first girl who, no strings attached, just let me know the travel and escort game. Here is a list of the newspapers in each of the cities. Here's a list. She gave me a list of because she kept a record of it. So she said, here's the list of the newspaper in the cities. Here's their numbers. You just call them. And she had the pricing for it. They got this size of ad. They got, this is 5x7 ads. This is a whole full page. This is how much this costs. This is how much this costs. And she literally had a list of everything for me to be able to find. And then she gave me a link just in case I needed to search for what papers was in that particular city. And she told me, like, not every single city, but like cities that at the time that I was like, oh, I'm thinking about going to them. She gave me hotel recommendations where it was quality enough, but not super, super expensive, but it was quality to it. Because one thing about if you want to make good money as an escort, you have to have a good quality hotel. They don't mean high 5-star, 4-star. It don't need to be that, but it needs to be clean in a nice area. It could be a 3-4 star. You can be a 3 or 4 star, but it needs to be in an area that's decent. It can't be in the hood or somewhere ghetto that they think they're gonna get robbed. So she was giving me different hotel suggestions that weren't super expensive, but they were still nice. And so she did all of this stuff with just out of the kindness of her heart. It wasn't nothing to exchange. Like we was in Yahoo chat, and we would be in there cutting up and having fun, and I asked her the question, and she just gave me the game. Literally just gave me the game. Like this what you do, this what you do, with no strings attached. This is the information, girl. It's like, and prior to her and this other girl named Josie, Josie is out of Florida. Josie too. Josie and Jay are the sex worker girls who really was like, here you go. And my coins was love. My coins was lovely. I went to New York, I went to DC, I went to, everywhere. Chicago, Atlanta, even though Atlanta was good. Just different places. Just went everywhere. Went all around the country. LA. It was so Phoenix. Everywhere. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Making tons of money. It was beautiful. I lived for it. It was sickening. And I would not have made the money or had the courage. I was a little small town girl from fucking Indianapolis. I wouldn't have had the courage to go to these places and do what I needed to do and make money and get my body done and get my body right if I didn't have the information that Jay gave me. So I'm always grateful for her in regards to that. But because of the nature of the business, a lot of some bitches was really shady in regards to giving you information. Oh, I just talked about Jay and Josie. Another girl who really was sickening for me was my gay aunt. Her name is Maya. Maya's out of Chicago. She's from St. Louis, but she out of Chicago. Maya, if Maya knew that I was going to a city, Maya will call some of her dates and be like, oh, my homegirl coming out there. Go spend some money with her. So I didn't even have to, I would have my ads up, but she'll give them my number. What bitches do that? But because Maya wasn't in the game no more, she was like, what, I'm holding on to clients that I don't even come to the city no more. And if I know they got some money, and I know they like pretty trans girls, shit. I'm going, hey baby, my homegirl is coming to your city, and I know you like the dolls. I know you like the dolls, baby. I got a doll baby coming. I want you to go show her a good time. Show her a good time, baby. Show her a good time. And honey, I will come. This happened particularly in Memphis. I came to Memphis, and I had a good clientele in Memphis because I lived at the time. I lived in Jackson because I had moved from Indianapolis to Jackson. And honey, I would go to Memphis. And I had a good clientele. But baby, when I told her I was in Memphis, I did have a good clientele, but she doubled it. I was like, oh shit, she introducing me to motherfuckers that ain't even on the ads that I'm on. They on something else, or they just ain't in the business no more. She got their direct number. And all she did, I was on three-way, and she was just saying, yo, I got a doll in the city. Go see my doll. I know you like the dolls. And honey, they came and spent their money, and it was love. So Maya, Jade, and Josie, they were the ones that put me up on game on, and also the language of how not to get locked up, like how you supposed to move in the escort business so they cannot lock you up. Stuff that you were supposed to say. You was not ever supposed to say that you were doing this for this. You cannot come out your mouth and say, I am going to give you head with this amount of money. You cannot say that. And when a person is trying to force you to say it, it's because they're a cop and they're trying to record you saying it. So if you constantly hold to your guns, even if they're a cop, they will end up leaving because you're not saying you're going to give them this for this. That's the illegal part. They have to record you saying it. So if you saying, yeah, baby, I'll show you a good time for that $100, or you saying something about giving them a service for the money, that is, you gonna go down to jail. And the only time I got busted with my brother is because I was in a bind a financial bind and did not follow my rules. I was so in need of the money and I did not follow my rules. And as soon as I didn't follow my rules, boom, they busted me and gave me a ticket for prostitution. And so for me, that was the lesson that they taught me. They was like, you will never get busted if you move like this. And it's not worth it. If he gets to trying to make you say, am I going to get some head for this $200? Am I going to get this? And are we going to do that? If he gets to talking about it and trying to force you to say it, that's a motherfucking cop. And if it's not a cop, he too new. He too dumb and too slow for you to be fucking with. So if he's not a cop and he talking like that, get out of here. You too new, too green, and I don't want you come see me anyway. Learn the game. If you don't know the game, then stop calling me. And you could start, and another thing you could start doing, you could say shit like that. Like, yo, you sound like you're a cop. Why are you asking me to have sex for money? That's illegal, sir. Why are you asking me that? And a smart person would be like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be talking like that. Hey, you're right. And so you'd be like, sweetie, I don't provide that type of service. What is going on here? You can give all of the things to pop them and get them in line. But if they keep pressuring you to try to get you to say it, then more than likely they're not. And you don't know how many times cops have called me after I done put them out of my house and called me and says, we're going to bust your ass. You're going to stop doing the prostitution. We know what you're doing. But they couldn't get me because I didn't give them any, I didn't do nothing with them. They hated it. But yes. All right, let's continue.
We rely on one another for that. We use one another for client references, confirming that the men who reached out to us were who they said they were. We acted as one another's safety contact, the person who receives information on where you are, whom you're with, and how long you should be there when we couldn't tell our friends and families what we did for a living. We shared which hotels were provider friendly and which ones kept track of traffic in and out of a room. We used whisper networks to warn other guys about law enforcement stings, scammers, and predators to avoid. We had hope marches just to vent and fellowship with one another. Some of these women are still friends of mine. Some of them are still sex workers, keeping me abreast of how women are navigating an already delicate industry with a pandemic and the stricter rules in online advertising. These women gave me my education in sex work best practices. It's because of their wisdom that I never again hosted a client at my own place like I did with that first 30 client. They taught me how to build my brand and market myself, which was super important as a plus-size provider, and how to retain clients and build a base of regulars. The secret sauce is to take the time to get to know your clients and invest in making them think that you would fuck them for free. We swap tricks on how to maximize our time with clients, code them foreplay, and control their orgasms so they want to stay longer or spend more money. And get rid of the ones who are annoying. Set your phone alarm so that it sounds like your ringtone and fake emergency. Makeup tips, period sex, Bitcoin, hoes taught me all of that. But most important, It taught me how to really step into my confidence and stand on a foundation of self-preservation and personal progress. Sex work is where I saw in real time so much of the Black queer, feminist, body, gender, and sexuality theory I had studied and acted in real life.
Yeah.
I really started to understand desirability politics as a product of access and socialization. For example, most of my clients were professional white men in their 40s and 50s. Their opportunities to engage with fat Black women at their Ivy League schools, their corporate jobs, or their mostly white neighborhoods were slim or none. I was able to deduce from their interactions with me that the reason there's a widely held belief that people aren't attracted to fat Black women is because fat Black women do not fit into the imagined normative lifestyle of these privileged men. We simply do not exist in their world. People engage with their desires only as much as their lives and communities allow them to. Even within our intimate relationships, many of us are performing gender, sexuality, and desire in the ways that are expected of us, not in ways that reflect the full spectrum of our sexual interests. Contrary to what people think about men who patronize sex workers, they're not desperate creeps who can't get sex anywhere else. They're men who want to have sex that they had to go somewhere else, literally and figuratively, to get. They're looking for specific experiences that meet their specific needs, experiences that allow them to explore those fringe corners of their desires. Providers offer them the space and chance to tap into those parts of their sexuality that they're not able to express in their everyday lives. We fill holes that would have gone untended to otherwise, holes that aren't always explicitly sexual. While sex work is often reduced to sucking and fucking, sex workers also do a ton of emotional and mental labor for clients.
Yes.
Desire, romance, and intimacy are holistic experiences and not skin deep. I've had clients who never even saw me fully nude because they were interested in an erotic experience that wasn't limited to penetration. Many of my clients simply wanted to relish a lack of control. Side note, I really miss being mean to white men for money. They need it now more than ever. Any cash pigs listening to this? Come at me, you piece of shit.
Period.
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 It was my job to get to know my clients, to understand what they needed, even when they didn't. I had to ensure that I was embodying a body positive lens to make room for clients with different body types and abilities. I had to be detail oriented and listen. I had to trust my gut. I learned for the first time how fulfilling it could be to act in the service of someone else. The better I got at this, the more fulfilling the work was for me. It probably sounds weird, but being a hope pushed me to be a better person and a better partner in general. Every envelope with cash was an affirmation of what I had to offer the world. Most important though, I understood that having romantic access to me is a privilege, a luxury even. Freed from the respectability politics that supported this line of thinking, I was able to rethink my own values in my dating life, which I'll talk more about in a later chapter. Yes, sex work is a threat to capitalism because of the financial autonomy it offers and a system that relies on disenfranchised folks as a labor force. But it also poses a threat to the established power dynamic that tends to work against Black femmes in romantic contexts. We are indoctrinated to think that our time, bodies, and energy are worth only as much as our partners say they are. We're taught that the only outcomes we should expect for sharing these parts of ourselves is the companionship of someone else. Hoes know better than that. We know that it takes real work to satisfy someone else's needs, work that has material value. When critics try to insult female rappers by comparing them to sex workers, like when during a Love and Hip Hop reunion episode, Peter Gunn said that if a woman wants to be treated to cash or gifts before agreeing to have sex, she's prostituting herself. They're underestimating the inherent power that sex workers possess, the power of self-determination. Self-determination. That's why new spitters like Sukiana lean into their holism. That's why, despite these critiques, so many female rappers still insist that anyone who wants to fuck them is going to have to pay the tax. There are a few things that make me feel as empowered as I do when I'm listening to a Black woman talk about how expensive her pussy is.
Would you be with a cop as a client, or is that too risky? It is not too risky. I have had many cops as clients. It's okay to be with a cop because they also know what not to ask you. Like, you coming to see you, they're risking it just like you're risking it. So they not, a client, what they get for their money. They know what this is about. We know what we're doing. And most of the time, you done talked about what you do and don't do in your ad. And so, you ain't gotta ask no questions. You come with my money, put the money on the table. You ain't gotta hand it to me in my hand and get naked. And you know what I'm saying? It's just a certain level of directness. We ain't gotta do too much talking
Oh,
until
Sanzibi.
the shit gets started. And once you get started,
Ugh.
you know that it's not no cop. Because if it was a scene, they would already be knocking on the door. You get what I'm saying? So I don't have many accounts, but a client, a cop that's trying to sting you is going to be true. They need, you got to understand, they're trying to sting you so they can have evidence in court. You get what I'm saying? That this is the evidence. The evidence is they're recorded. They got their phone on. They're recording. Somebody is listening to them in there with you, and they have to get you to say that you, because they need the evidence or to prove that you was prostituting in court. Do you see what I'm saying? So they need the. So two things I never did. I never go to no motherfucker's hotel because if it's a cop, they will be recording inside the hotel. So you gotta come to me. I'm not coming to you. Um, Also, if I come to you, you're gonna come to um if I come to you, you're gonna be in like a 5-star, 4-star hotel because those level of hotels are not gonna have hot stings in them. So like if you go to a Days Inn, yeah, the cops can perform the cops can have a hotel and afford to have a hotel on the cops' budget at the Days Inn, but they're not going to be at the Fairmont. They're not going to be at the fucking at the Conrad or some high 5-star, 4-star hotel. They can't afford that, and the people who run the hotel are not letting.
Mm, what are you doing? Hmm? What you doing?
Zumpet. Goosh if we. Huh? Balik. Balik.
Hamba. Ah.
Ooh, Funkas. Shrofa. Bilindi. Yeah, Yipsy. Oh, so. Huh. Oh. Orbite. Uh-huh. Garuda. Ah. Mm. Funkas. Garuda. Funkas.
Oh,
Shrofa.
Ogariz. Wave.
Oh, you kids. Huh, huh. He's
Mm-mm. No, why would you do that? Hmm? Hmm? It's alright.
Leaps. Uniata.
Sloof.
Stone.
Descos. Clonkas.
Wasamuya.
Huh. Yeah, Yibsy.
Flicks.
Veruda. Uh, huh. Orbite. Whoa. Clonkas. Whoa. Pelka can. Orbite. Kresny. Yibs. Oh, yeah. Huh. Ooh.
How can I get free prompts?
Crisp. Huh.
Boba.
Oh. Skloif can. Oh.
Kiss up. Panaruja. Ah.
Oh.
Please.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Huh? Huh. Hmm. Uh-huh. Ooh. Payevka. Clav. Huh? Hey, Dad. Skeeves. What? Ah. 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 Yarn. Ulak. Histor.
Yes. Oh.
Minuit. Hobie race.
Swanee. Scuba Chew. Ah, Dravoy Blues Day.
them stings at their hotel. And so, yeah, I'll come to see you if you had a 5-star. I just know that the cops are not going to be there. The cops is going to be at the fucking Daisy until, $50, $50, $50 a night, Motel 6. They're going to be at that kind of stuff. So you want to go there. So yeah, it's just rules that you got to follow because you know how the system works. And cops, having cops as clients teach you how the system works. I remember I had a cop in Mississippi that I would see, and he would say, "Hey, save these numbers in your phone. These are the undercover cops. Save them in your phone. When they call you, know that they're trying to bust you." Because he was a fucking cop and he knew the numbers. And so anybody they would call me and I would know that they were fucking cops trying to play, trying to sting me. Because he would let me know that they're busting everybody, not just me, but everybody. He was like, so you gotta be careful here. So I would save the numbers in my phone because that's just what it was. So what else? I'm texting my girl to get in here. Who is escorting in Tampa? Yeah, I don't know nothing about the escort business now because of SESTA and the rules around FOSTA and SESTA. It just has changed the game. I don't even know why the folks are advertising that no more. Where the folks advertising that? I know Eero still exists, right? But I know Craigslist doesn't, Backpage doesn't. Let me see. Yeah, that's still up. That's still up, baby. Eero said, baby, y'all not taking us down. Did they move to another country? I think that's what a lot of the websites did. They moved to another country. All the websites are based out of the UK. Yeah, so that's what it is. They own that bootleg sites. What is SESTA? SESTA is the law. Let me give you. There you go. Give you some history about the laws. So, in general, the excuse was to cut down sex trafficking and make it illegal to knowingly assist, facilitate, and support sex trafficking. And so what that means is online services would be getting implemented in these cases, in these sex trafficking cases for allowing people to put ads and shit up. And so what they started doing when they made this law go into effect, it basically in 2000 and they started when it went into effect, it got signed into law in 2018. but it started. They started like shopping it. I remember around 2009, 2008, 2009. It hadn't passed, but it started to
Girl,
do
that's
shopping
space though.
around. So the site started to do little different stuff to make them less liable. I think you can use a VIPN to bypass the country's restrictions. Yes, you can. So they moved their base out to the UK or other countries so they can not have to worry about it. And so what, like, so for example, Craigslist, they they start making it. They start getting fucking weird. It was a movie. They start making it to where the community can flag each other. It used to didn't be like that. The community can flag each other, and so girls was flagging everybody. Everybody was flagging everybody. It was going down. So your ad, as soon as you put your ad up, that motherfucker's going down because girls flagging it. It just was a shit show. With nobody making no fucking money. You had to put your ad up at a certain time of night when you thought people were sleeping. it was so annoying. But yeah, they shut down a lot of sites because the owners were getting indicted in certain cases and blah, blah, blah. So that just changed the game. So people start using Bitcoin because they couldn't put their credit, they couldn't accept credit cards. So they started using Bitcoins as payments, and it just started to be weird. That's when it got really weird for me. Just for the idea of doing that. But yeah, I got out of it.
Fuck no.
It started to be
That's what it is.
We're making no fucking money. It just wasn't popping like it was. You can still have some good tricks, but it just wasn't popping in the way that it was when I first started. And so it started to not be worth it. And then at that time, I was in school, and it was just a whole different game for me. So it just stopped being worth it. And so I got out. Formally. I still return a trick to this day, but formally, they let OnlyFans pop off. OnlyFans started popping after the pandemic, though. When people started losing jobs and the shit shut down, OnlyFans started popping then. People was needing a way to make money.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have websites created to lure a certain clientele, but their Instagram accounts work just as well, and I'm sure the DMs are booming. It's important that I talk about my stint as a sex worker, a positive, autonomous experience that helped me stay afloat financially for a number of years before I had a medical career, because that's not the narrative we typically get about sex workers, especially Black women. The media wants you to believe that sex work is seedy. Themes of desperation, force, trafficking, and violence are recycled there, depicting a shadowy underground that snatches souls and never returns them. A lot of rappers want us to believe that sex work is sexy. Neither is the definitive truth, but it can be both. It doesn't matter if we're not hearing about the experience of sex workers, good or bad, from those in the field. Sex work shouldn't be co-opted for shocking headlines or catchy bars. I've heard horror stories of providers being robbed and raped. Trans women who are pushed into survival sex work are at an even higher risk of violence. It cannot be understated how epidemics like gender-based violence, homophobia, transphobia, and addiction, just to name a few, collide with income inequality and lead women to pursue sex work. I also understand that there is a completely different sector of the industry in which women and girls are coerced into prostitution by other people. I'm particularly sensitive to this reality because a decade before I was making money as a sex worker, I was almost one of those girls. When I was 14, a close friend of the family, let's call him D, asked me if I was a virgin. We just pulled into a parking lot near the project that operated as his stomping ground. As we drove past crackheads and corner boys, D slowed the car down and turned 8-Ball and MJG's Mr. Big up to its maximum volume. He was clearly feeling himself as he drove a car that wasn't his through the narrow streets leading into one of the Chicago housing complexes that have since been torn down. But before he had inquired about my sexual activity, he turned the car off and the radio all the way down. I knew this was not passing curiosity of an adult trying to offer support or guidance. It was a pitch. Before I could even answer, he continued with a spiel about how I could and should be getting money from these niggas if I was going to deal with them at all. He and I were spending more time together than usual, which is what led to this sly proposition in the car. He would sometimes try to impress me with gifts or stories about how much money he had. On other occasions, I would ride along with him on random trips. He didn't have a job, so they were indeed random. We were
That's the author.
but sometimes we would stop to hang out at the homes of his friends.
And that's her book. She's the one who read her own book.
In front of all of his old ass cronies if I had brushed my teeth that day. It was a weird question, but before I could respond, he grabbed my face, pulled it close to his, and ran his tongue across my front teeth. I was disgusted and made that very clear as I pulled away. He just laughed and sent me back into another room, giving a knowing look to his friends. Even at that age, the idea of prostitution wasn't foreign to me. I knew that there were some women who were willing to have sex with men for money. I also knew there were pimps, men who made money off those women. These dynamics showed up in the music I listened to and some of the series and movies I watched. Pimp culture is also extremely prominent in the Midwest, especially in places like Chicago and Detroit. But whenever I witnessed this culture, it was explicitly named. Words like prostitution, hooker, and turning tricks seemed to draw a line in the sand that defined what hoeing was and was not. They were labels that identified a group of women who had been written off as shameful and immoral. D was giving me creep vibes, for sure, but he hadn't used any of those terms or described those dynamics. I brushed him off after his speech in the car because by the time I was 14, I already felt a sense of ownership over my own sexuality. Involving D or any other adult in it just wasn't appealing to me, but it definitely wasn't because I realized exactly what he was up to. D was trying to turn me out, slowly but surely. With all of the gifts, the stories about how much money he supposedly had, the unsolicited questions and advice he had about my sex life, and the time he suddenly wanted us to spend together, he was grooming me. He already thought of himself as a pet.
That's the book.
He just needed a woman at his behest to complete that fantasy. When he stuck his tongue into my mouth in front of those other men, invading my personal space in my body, he was trying to give them the impression that he had power over my body, even though he didn't. If he had his way, some of those same men would have paid him for a chance to do more than check my teeth. The only reason it stopped was because not long after these incidents, I went to live with my grandparents and Dee went to prison. I don't know how far things would have gone if there hadn't been physical distance put between us. I know hindsight is 20/20, but if I knew then what I know now, I would have been his fucking tongue off. When I hear news stories about underage girls being trafficked, I know exactly how easy it is. Had Dee been an older dude from the neighborhood whom I had a crush on, a neighbor I was creeping around with, or someone I felt closer to, I could have easily been turned out. If I had had a boyfriend who told me this was what he wanted me to do for him, I can see how my 14-year-old brain could have found ways to justify it. Had I been one of those 14-year-old girls who are treated like surrogate heads of their households and feel an obligation to make some money for their families and not just for a new purse, these propositions could have sounded like music to my ears. While it may seem easy to identify pimps when they're dressed like Bishop Don Juan and hoes when their asses are jutting out from the sides of cars on the street, it looks different for young girls who get caught up in the game. It looks like an abusive boyfriend, expectations from older family members, or being a down-ass bitch riding for the rich older guy you're dating.
Clock. If you got a nigga that's home every day, not bringing no money in, you going to work or you turning tricks, and he home in he laying in your house in your bed eating your food, playing video games, you the trick, baby. You the client. You the trick. You the sugar daddy. The sugar mama. If he ain't bringing nothing to the table, You trip. And if he having you sleep with people for money, you getting pimped, baby. I just never been in that situation. I'm too arrogant, if I'm to be honest. My pride and my arrogance is too deep for me to be sitting around the house and letting the nigga do nothing. I can't. I can't do it. I can't get no nigga my money. Where they do that at? Not over here. I can't be. In order for me to give you some coins and you my man,
Girl, no.
Already been giving me coins. You
Girl,
have
no.
already been proving yourself
Not I.
down as provider dude. If you ain't did that, baby, you ain't getting no money from me at all.
Hello.
Ever. You just not.
These stories of exploitation, violence, and despondency are often used as justification for the criminalization of sex work. In case you're one of those people, I'm here to tell you why you're way off base. First and foremost, let's get on the same page that consensual sex work is not the same thing as sex trafficking. It's like the difference between consensual sex and rape. Sex work involves consenting parties negotiating the terms under which they engage in sex. Trafficked individuals cannot give consent because they're acting under the authoritarian rule of someone else. Trying to combat sex trafficking by criminalizing the entire sex trade is like trying to regulate sex in order to prevent rape. Industries like agriculture and domestic work are also hotspots for trafficking, but there haven't been any attempts to ban hiring migrant workers or live-in housekeepers. Those sectors are allowed to exist, and there are rules, laws, and task forces in place to help curb those who would take advantage of workers. The most present danger that sex workers navigate is law enforcement. We have to figure out ways to advertise, screen clients, and serve clients without drawing the attention of the police or walking into a sting. If crimes are committed against us while we're working, we put our own freedom at risk in the pursuit of justice. Dirty cops are among the predators we may encounter.
Period.
On top of all that, the economic consequences of entering the criminal justice system makes it more likely that we will have to continue to pursue sex work, which was the case for me after my arrest. Decriminalizing sex work will make it safer for sex workers to do their jobs and easier to fight trafficking. This hasn't happened because not only are we still tied to conservative attitudes about the circumstances under which people have sex, but also because people refuse to acknowledge that sex work is real work. The bottom line for all sex workers is the dollar. Sex work can be dangerous, but so can construction. People can exploit it like they can anything else. For many sex workers, they would be doing something else if they had the choice, and I think a bunch of Walmart employees would say the same thing. People are drawn to this underground economy in a system that doesn't provide nearly enough help or resources to those who need it most. Rather than address the issues that make sex work a viable option for so many, like a livable wage and reliable protection against gender-based violence and homophobia, we've continued to put an already vulnerable workforce even more at risk. And still, sex work is alive and well. It still offers women the opportunity for financial freedom and personal growth. The internet gave sex workers more than access to a global community and a means to express themselves and raise awareness. It also gave them even more ways to make money. Sex work is still forcing us to reconsider our assumptions about different bodies and forms of sexual expression. It's also still hiding in plain sight via the sex we have every day outside the official bounds of the industry. I am not suggesting that this is the only means of accomplishing any of the above, but it's a model that should be taken more seriously for sure. I'm not saying that everyone should go out and get their hoe credentials, but I don't think it's a terrible idea to consider how much hoe shit is already in you.
Bam. So that's the end. That's the end of the Stella chapter. So, yeah, I think that for me, it's for how I think about sex work now. It is just a tool in my toolbox. It is something. It's a tool in my toolbox. It's a tool that I can hustle and make some money real quick. It is a tool that I can use as a defense mechanism against a dude who I'm not for sure of his intention. Let me give you an example. When I was younger, I'll hook up with a dude, and this nigga selling me the sun, moon, and stars because he fine, and I'm looking for love, and I'm trying to be classy, and I'm trying to be da 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 da. Not classy, but I'm trying to be a good girl. And he's selling me the sun, moon, and stars, and I'm giving him something he can feel. I'm giving him something he can feel, baby. I'm cartwheeling, somersaulting, riding, Megan knees riding. I'm doing all the stuff to make him feel good. All the stuff free. And I remember all I'm getting out of this situation at the end, when it's revealed that he ain't shit, is a wet ass. And at that time, this is when I was young, y'all, not in my 20s, but like teenagers, early 20s. But definitely, I remember I was hooking up with this dude named Dennis, and I remember this moment because it was just a trigger. Sometimes shit in my brain will just switch, and I'll never think like I did before the switch. And this is one moment. So I met Dennis through.
All right, I'm going to bed. It's tired. I'm tired. Can't even speak right. My eyes are watering.
Maybe like 5 years younger. So I was like 26 and he was like 21. And so I met him through him. And when we saw each other, we were each other's type. Dennis was tall, chocolate, he was like 6'3" and huge ass dick. And he was everything. And he came to see me and we hooked up and it was fire. I would literally have to masturbate when he left.
Bitch, now I want cupcakes.
All because I'm trying to keep this image of femininity. He knew my tea, but...
Alright, good night. I will see y'all later.
Like he wouldn't